All right, welcome, ladies and germs, to a slutcast. And much like the last one, I'm not very happy because all you people couldn't shut the fuck up about this. Like, we can't just like or dislike things that we like or dislike. It has to not only be just. We can't just dislike a specific leak and leave it at that. Nope, we are either racist, sexist, or transphobic, right? Well, because of you fuckheads, we're talking about Last of Us Part 2. Get on with this, Gene.
Whoa, Marcos, good mic, man.
I know, I'm pissed.
Good morning, slut. Right now for us, it's 10:39 in the morning, and we woke up wanting to talk about this trash-ass garbage fire of a game.
Not only that, but even the reaction, you can't just like and dislike shit anymore. Like, everything needs to be labeled as something. In our case, Gene, because we dislike this game, we are racist, sexist, and all that good shit. Like,
we're transphobic, we're racist,
because we chose to hate a game of to hate the sequel of one of our favorite games ever made. Am I right? You know.
Yeah.
But, the critics are the true fans. Whatever. So, yeah, in case it isn't obvious, yeah, we dislike The Last of Us Part 2, and it's been a long time coming. I initially wanted to do a slutcast based on when the leaks were going out, but because Sony and Naughty Dog were, throwing some shit at content creators for talking about the game. Have you ever gotten banned for sharing a meme? Yeah, so I think the game is out, so now it's fair game. And because bitches out there were like, you gotta see the shit completely to get the full context of the story, I'm like, fuck it. I'm gonna watch NK Ice and Fire's full playthrough of the game. Dean himself actually got the game and played through it from start to finish. So we got all the context in the world, and it's somehow worse than how the leaks told us. So, yeah, fuck all of you for making me do this. But now we're talking about it, so thank you at the same time. So, before we get into this game, I want you to understand why the hates that not only the game itself has, and why we hate the game the way we do, by talking about our history with not only The Last of Us, but in my case, it'll be my history with the company Naughty Dog itself. So, Slut, I'm going to let you take the spotlight.
I'm gonna go get some water right now, so you steal the spotlight for now. Okay?
Alright then, I'm taking the spotlight. So, as the people who've seen my Pokemon Slutcast that I did actually a year ago, almost, when Sword and Shield was announced, I mentioned that the first game I played was Pokemon Yellow. That was my first game I played. However, the first console game that I played was Crash Bandicoot 3 Warped on the original PlayStation. The PlayStation 1 was my first console, and I got to experience Crash Bandicoots for the first time, and it's been one of my favorite franchises ever since. Admittedly, the games afterwards were just either okay or bad, but I've always held Crash Bandicoot, as well as the company of Naughty Dog, to such a high esteem, especially when I got into the Jak and Daxter series, and just the fact that they're willing to push the consoles to its limits just to test what they can do, and just endless possibilities of things that they could do, such as creating a world with lack of loading screens, and even creating a world and charming environments that will be forever loved. And it gets better once you get to the Uncharted franchise, which is arguably the best series that they've made, and honestly one of my favorite video game series. Period. Really next to the Super Smash Bros. Series, and yeah, honestly, I think that's the only game that would be the closest to top it, and even then, I think my heart and soul probably prefers the Uncharted games. And, of course, I can't talk about Naughty Dog without talking about The Last of Us. If there's anything that these games all have in common, is that if there's any games that I love, that I always put on my favorites games list, most of Naughty Dog's titles always makes the cuts. Crash 3, Jack 1, Uncharted 2 and 4, and even the original Last of Us all made like the cut on being some of my favorite games ever made, and even the ones that don't are still games that I love, and the ones that I don't find to be that great, I either find them alright at worst. Yes, that includes Jack X Combat Racing. I do find the game to be fun at the very worst. Uncharted 1 is very dated in its design, but it's not. But it still has that charm that we loved about the Uncharted series moving forward. That only got better by Uncharted 2, which is easily the best game in the series. I've never hated Naughty Dog. Naughty Dog has always been my favorite video game company of all time, and every game that they put out, I've rarely have ever been disappointed until now, which is not only a big disappointment in my eyes, but it's the only Naughty Dog game that I've actually hated for many, many reasons. And it's because of this game and a specific topic I will get to near the end that, unfortunately, I have no support and no hope for Naughty Dog moving forward. And Naughty Dog was unironically the only company that was keeping me on the side of PlayStation. So I'm not even going to get the PlayStation 5. I have officially lost. I have
Really?
Yeah, pretty much. I'm kind of done with PlayStation and Sony and Naughty Dog, and just it's all because of this game. I'm not saying that everybody needs to fall into that category, but I've been meaning to leave out the console games for a long time, and I think this is the best reason I have now. I am not looking forward to anything PlayStation 5 related, honestly. But yeah, but that's my hot take. Anyway, now that you're back with your drink, you may go on and take the spotlight finally.
Which is water, by the way. Which is water. My drink is water. I'm not an alcoholic.
Sure.
Okay. Alrighty. So since this slut talked about his history with Naughty Dog games, I'm going to talk about my history with Naughty Dog games. So, my history started way back in 2011 when a certain game came out called Uncharted 3. I went to Best Buy in order to buy a Batman game, Batman Arkham City, but I was surprised with a demo of the game, and I thought that it was freaking awesome. Instead of Batman Arkham City, I bought Uncharted 3 with the hopes of trying to... In my mind, I thought I made a horrible decision by not buying Batman Arkham City, which I did buy it later, by the way. I bought Uncharted 3 instead of Arkham City, and I was incredibly surprised with how the game turned out. It had an amazing story, amazing characters. I loved Nathan Drake, Victor Sullivan, Elena, Chloe, Cutter, all of the characters. And I'm naming them because they're unforgettable. They're unforgettable characters that just have a lot of heart and soul put into them. After I played Uncharted 3, I retraced my steps way back to Uncharted 2, which is easily one of my favorite games of all time. After Uncharted 2, I played Uncharted 1. And after Uncharted 1, The Last of Us came out. So, me surprised with Naughty Dog, I wanted to buy The Last of Us. And I thought it was amazing. It was an amazing game with an amazing story, a great video game protagonist, and it made me think a lot. And it's actually one of the very first games that actually made me cry about certain things that happened in the game.
Funny thing, Kat got to play The Last of Us pretty recently, and she loves the game completely. And there's a specific scene in the first Last of Us game that's, when Ellie's basically telling Joel that she doesn't feel comfortable with everybody except around him, and how all of her friends have either died or left her. that scene in particular, which is not only my favorite scene in the entire game, but it was so heartwarming that it impacted her so much. It's a game that really does make you think a lot of the themes that go along with it, especially with a depressing environment such as a zombie apocalypse. So yeah, no, these games are fucking great.
So after The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2 was revealed, I was genuinely excited because The Last of Us 2 was, Last of Us 1, Last of Us 1 was an amazing game that I loved, and I wanted to see what the sequel was. So little did I know that this game was gonna be garbage.
There's also one particular gem you missed out on, but I'll take the spotlight. But Uncharted 4 was the basic reason why I was super excited for the Insane trilogy, for the Crash Bandicoot Insane trilogy. Last of Us Part 2 does have like little fun Easter eggs, such as finding a PlayStation 3 with Uncharted 2 and 3 and the Jack and Daxter collection. But honestly, in terms of
And you can also find Nate's ring.
But in terms of like Easter eggs, honestly, nothing ever tops Uncharted 4. Uncharted 4, where Nate and Elena, which is by the way my favorite chapter in the entire game, where they're just chilling, being husband and wife, and they're playing some good old Crash Bandicoot on the original PlayStation. It's like shit like that is why I love the company, why I love the game so much, and it's just let's just get on with it.
Yep.
All right. So before
actually, I'm gonna have to say some things too. My brother was the first person to play The Last of Us 2 because I was on the rails with it, and I wanted to see the game without having to play it first. So I saw the game. I saw some parts with him, and other parts I saw them on YouTube. But I saw the ending with him. And my brother, he doesn't know how he feels about it, but he doesn't like the game either. He loves the gameplay and loves the graphics, but he doesn't know how to feel about the ending. I know how I feel about the ending, and I know that it's garbage.
Yeah, it's funny because it's very funny that the ending is like one of the more divisive topics. Like I feel like it would be a lot more clear why it's pretty bad, but it's unironically one of the more divisive scenes. Like there are people that genuinely were okay with it, but then there are people that were like super conflicted with it, and then there are people that fucking hate it. And well,
we fall in the category that we fucking hate.
Yeah, I honestly do hate the ending, and that has an entirely different topic on its own. Now, before we get into it, let's not be let's not be toxic masculinity people for like a good 5 seconds, all right? Because believe it or not, even though there are some good things in this terrible trash game, we will list to you right now because I took notes when I was watching the playthrough because I refused to buy the game, and there were things that I genuinely like. Only 2 things from the story, believe it or not. So, yes, we are going to list to you the good things about The Last of Us Part 2, and if there's anything that I missed that Gene would want to add, that he could interject and say the things. The first thing, the most obvious thing, the only thing that is 10 out of 10 in this game are the graphics. I don't think it's controversial to believe that the game looks gorgeous. And again, another perfect example of Naughty Dog still testing the boundaries of a console to like the 8th degree, especially in the graphics department. The Last of Us Part 2 not only looks great, but it arguably looks the best out of every Naughty Dog game. Maybe even the only game that could probably top it is Uncharted 4. So the game looks gorgeous. The game is beautiful looking. People have issues with the gameplay. I can't really make a comment because I haven't played the game and I don't intend to play the game. But from what I saw, the gameplay doesn't look so bad. The gameplay looks kind of refined. I think Jin can add more info into the gameplay since he actually played the game. Yeah. Actually, so you take it.
The gameplay is an improvement to the last one. I can tell you that the gameplay is really good. For The Last of Us, I was one of those people that was on the fence with The Last of Us 1 gameplay, and I felt that it was a pretty clunky and like all over the place a little bit.
I didn't mind it personally, but I didn't mind Last of Us 1's gameplay personally, but yeah.
But this one actually refined it a lot. Like, a little bit of the problems that I had, and I'm not being a hater towards the Last of Us 1 gameplay, I actually liked it too. There was just little minor problems, but this one actually fixes it. Like, the camera is a little bit faster. Because I don't really like it when a camera is stiff. I'm one of those people that has to adjust the sensitivity for it to be faster, and I hate it when a camera's stiff.
Yeah,
The
I agree.
stiffness of the camera in Last of Us 1 is... Ugh, I don't like it. So I like it that you can adjust your sensitivity in this game and make it faster, which is what I did. And the game, once you do that, it feels smoother. And other things, little touches that were great, which they added a jump button, which was okay. Like, I've seen some reviews where some people say that they added a jump button. It's so fresh. Oh my god, it's just a jump button. Chill out.
Just a jump button. That's funny. I hear a lot of mixed opinions about the gameplay. Like, I hear that it's not so refined, but I hear people that genuinely love it. So personally, I don't see an issue with it.
The best part of the gameplay, I do have to say, is the stealth. The stealth is great. It reminds me a lot of Metal Gear Solid 5, the Phantom Pain stealth, where you go prone in tall grass, and then you can go crouch in tall grass, but if they get too close to the tall grass, they're going to actually see you, whereas other games, when they're close to the tall grass, they're not going to see you. My brother already finished the game, and I'm playing the game right now, so I'm playing the game on hard. So if there's things that are bad about the game in terms of gameplay, I'll be sure to tell you.
Yeah, like, I think one person probably, like, Skill Up, I believe, mentioned that the AI is still pretty stupid, so...
Oh yeah, the AI is still pretty stupid. Once they see you for a split second, and then they'll, like, turn around. But in my opinion, that's not too big of an issue, because in other games, it also tends to have that issue as well. The only game that I do see that doesn't have that issue at all is, like, the Batman Arkham games, which I think are the best in terms of stealth. But it's that Naughty Dog has never been one with stealth, per se.
Yeah.
So I can't really bash them on there. I can't really give them that beating, because it's not like it's Ubisoft where they've experimented with different parts of stealth. But I mean, the stealth is better than the first one, so I feel that it's an improvement.
Okay. Alright, and then now the next two things that one praise that I specifically have, but this next praise that we're gonna do is that this is something that we both agree on. The only things we liked from the story were the Joel and Ellie flashback scenes. They are probably, especially the first one in particular, it's the most wholesome thing in the entire game. It's literally the only heartwarming moments in the entire story. Whereas the rest of the game is mostly depressing and edgy and, lots of blood and violence and gore and shit. This is the only time where you get to take a break and actually start looking back. This is the only time where you get to actually see the storyline that we pretty much were probably expecting to see in a sequel for Last of Us 1. You get to see, you get to see Joel and Ellie's relationship after the events of the first game, how close they've gotten, how distant they've become, and just Ellie's, like, struggle with trying to acknowledge the fact that the world has not changed, despite the fact that Joel told her that there were people that were just like her. Even though I'm going to complain about it a little bit later, because I feel like the way Ellie's character was presented in some of these flashbacks were not so good. But in terms of how she feels, like the mixed feelings that she has regarding not being told the truth, I like that. I like all the scenes that Joel and Ellie share together. I like that there was tension between the two. And I like the very first flashback, especially because it is literally the most wholesome scene in the entire story. And it honestly makes me see that even though Joel is not necessarily the best person in the entire planet, he's such a good father to Ellie, and I honestly love that moment especially.
Definitely.
Like, I don't know if you have anything else to add.
I even explained to the slut that if the entire game was just these flashbacks, then I would buy this game and give it a 10 out of 10.
Honestly, if the entire game was
Since it's not just the flashbacks, then fuck this game.
if the entire game was centered around Joel and Ellie and the entire conflict between those two after the events of the first game, I honestly would have been very engaged with the story. I actually think I would have actually loved it because these few moments carry the entire story, and it's literally the only good thing about the story. Because everything else is either going to be so dumb or just, your typical average revenge story, or gets super contradictory near the end. There's another scene that I like, and I don't know if you have an opinion on, but when I genuinely like the scene when Ellie was experiencing, like, PTSD.
Oh yeah, that was a great scene.
I actually thought it was a very...
I haven't okay, I didn't see the scene until you mentioned it through a WhatsApp message, and I saw it, and I was like, okay, Marcos, this is an amazing scene. So I liked it. I didn't even know there was a PTSD scene until you mentioned it.
Yeah.
And it was great.
It was very well executed, and I think it fits well for Ellie's character. And the last thing that was good, I don't think it's controversial to think this, but the voice acting, the performances of each of the characters and actors were good. I don't care about most of the new characters, but none of them did a terrible job presenting themselves in the story. I don't think it's a controversial opinion.
Ashley Johnson did an amazing performance. And Troy Baker, honestly, that man can do no wrong.
Yeah. No, even the small scenes with Joel, I honestly think all the actors did an amazing job. Everybody did a great job in the acting department. I literally have no complaints about it. The only thing I'm complaining about is the writing and the characters. And unfortunately...
You were complaining about one.
What do you mean? There are so many characters I don't like in the story. Anyway, unfortunately...
this character's a child, Marcos, and you know how you feel about this actor.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you're right. But he didn't do a bad job, Ian Alexander. But I'll get to why I don't like his character and the actor himself. Unfortunately, now, this is where our praise ends. 5 good things about the game. 2 of them are the stories, and 3 of them are technical shits. 3 of them are things that maybe a lot of people won't give a crap about. If the graphics and gameplay and even the performances is all you care about, then you'll probably love this game. Give me 1 second. Pardon me, I had to do a thing. Anyway, where was I? Okay, so if the graphics and gameplay and the voice acting is all you care about, then you'll probably love this game. If you are attached to a specifically a different character from the story, then you'll probably love this game too. But in terms of how us fans of The Last of Us, yeah, that's it. That's all the things that we liked about the game. A couple scenes, and it's a technical superior game, I guess. So you ready, Slut?
Yep, let's do it.
Let's get to the shit we don't like about this game. And let's start with the most obvious one. The advertising. I think if you play through the game and look back at the trailers, you'll know that the trailers literally are a fucking joke. They are completely manipulative. They are completely lying to you in your face. They make you think you're going to get one thing, but instead you get a completely different game. Like, it is so unbelievable that anybody can look at the marketing and then think that this is exactly what we were expecting. With every trailer except one, all of them were were trailers dedicated to Ellie. There were gameplays of Ellie. There were There was, in fact, the last trailer we got was focused on Ellie. Abby did not even appear in any of the other trailers except one, where this was back in the good old days where everybody thought that the character was going to be related to Ellie.
Yeah.
So, and then there's one scene especially where Ellie is getting someone covers Ellie's mouth just so she won't get spotted by specific individuals. In the trailer, you see it's Joel. In fact, Joel will even tell her, "You think I'm going to let you do this on your own?" Implying that for the most part, the game was going to be a solo Ellie adventure, and then Joel will come in a little bit later. Am I right or am I right? That's what everybody thought.
At least that's what was being marketed to us.
That's not even close to what happens. First of all, in the game, the scene itself, it isn't Joel that does it. It's a different character named Jessie. Jessie is a character that not only covers her mouth, saves her ass, and tells her, "You think I'm going to let you do this on your own?" The same line, different characters. They just swap the character models just so that way everybody can think that Joel is going to be remotely involved in the story. Well, I hate to break it to you, but Joel is dead. And his death is literally the worst thing about this. It's the dumbest scene I've ever seen in my fucking life.
You took the word right out of my mouth.
And we'll get to Joel's death of why it is objectively bad in just a moment, because that's an entirely different topic of itself. But the marketing is straight up a complete fucking lie. Nothing in those trailers true. And in fact, they even make Joel a little bit older in in the last trailer, implying that he was thinking again he was going to be involved in the story. But no, the scene that he was in was a flashback scene where he's a lot younger, by a couple of years, mind you. But fuck. Like if you're gonna give us a trailer where you play as half the game as Ellie and the other half as Abby, can you fucking market it that way so we at least know what the hell we're getting into? Because the amount of Abby trailers is just phenomenal. How there's almost none.
Yep.
And if this is a character you guys are proud of,
and add to the fact that her parts are entirely half of the game.
Yeah, remember when the leaks say that you were going to play half the game as Ellie and half the game as Abby? They weren't fucking lying. Which we'll get to more on that in a little bit. Now, okay, so the trailers are garbage, and they're worthless, and I think it's also not very good when in a marketing standpoint, because especially one of them, it feels like the game is extremely dependent on the fact that you have seen the trailer. It kind of flash forwards to after Ellie and Dina kissing. Assuming you've seen the trailer, you would have known about the scene. That scene doesn't come up till much later in the story and via flashback. So, I don't know. It just seems like a lot has happened off screen and would only explain through flashbacks. And it's just really heavily dependent on the fact that you've seen the trailers. But yeah, no, the trailers are garbage and they don't hold up to the test of time one bit.
And after the trailers came out, mind you, the leaks came out, and everybody and their mother who saw these leaks hated the leaks.
Yeah, and for those that were thinking, oh, well, the leaks are taking this out of context, fuck you.
They did not take it out of context.
If anything, it made it better, because somehow with context, it is so much worse. And now I'm going to get to my next complaint. I don't think a lot of people are really talking about this, but before you think that I'm a homophobe, I have to tell you that I did make a list of gay characters that I like, just in case I got to use this to my advantage. But Ellie and Dina, them being a couple doesn't bother me. What bothers me is that they have no chemistry. If they aren't speaking in monotone, they don't show, they're just flirting with each other, and at most their jokes would give me a chuckle, and that's about it. But never did I feel like this was an actual real relationship.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like
In the beginning, they seem like they're gonna take things to the next level, but they're just speaking in a way that doesn't convey their emotions towards each other.
and when they're talking,
The first part they just flirt with each other. The second part they're trying to get to know more about each other, and then the next one they have sex with each other. But after that, it doesn't show any growth to their relationship. Mind you, by the ending, they're supposed to be living together for a year. And if this was a real relationship, and they felt for each other, then Ellie would have never gone to kill Abby. She would have stayed with Dina to raise JJ. That's just my opinion.
And also, when they're basically talking like this throughout the entire game, as they're just doing some scavenging and stuff like that, it's very difficult to get invested into some people that just speak very monotone half the time. And especially if these two are supposed to be a couple. Hell, they're even speaking in monotone when they're already raising their child. So there's hardly ever any emotions between these two characters when they're interacting.
Okay. It's annoying.
Yeah, that's the entire conversation. Mind you, I know I said that the voice acting is really good, but I would like to have a little bit of emotions when they're talking. You're gonna tell me that this shit is better than Joel and Ellie's relationship? Fuck no. Ellie, and now my next complaint, and try and back, and I want you, and see if you can back me up on this one, because I don't know if I can really make this as arguable without going the whole, well, it's a revenge storyline, so it makes sense. But Ellie makes the most questionable decisions, period. Maybe I can understand her getting mad at Joel for figuring out the fact that he lied to her, but here's my problem with the scenes. I know it's not that she gets mad at him that bothers me. It's the fact that she isolates him for 2 years that bothers me. It's the fact that the fact that she actually remotely believed him when I'm pretty sure if you look back at the ending of the first game, she doesn't seem highly convinced of what Joel told her. Hell, even the opening kind of seems like she didn't believe everything.
I mean, I would say that the most important thing in any relationship or friendship is communication and conveying the way you feel about certain things. But the thing is, Ellie doesn't convey any of that to Joel. He knows she's upset, but she doesn't convey why she's upset. Only after 2 years, the night before he dies, is when she says that she couldn't even be able to forgive him, but she would like to.
Yeah,
that's after 2 years, mind you.
Yeah.
Would that be able to happen after like an hour of being mad and then you can talk about it? But they never talk about it.
Yeah, and honestly, maybe I wouldn't be so upset about it if the fact that it did not take 2 years, and then
And also Joel never had the chance to explain himself and never had the chance to explain why he did it. All he says was that they would have killed you. But as we know, that's not entirely the reason why Joel did it.
Yeah, and the thing is, what bothers me is that Ellie knows about Sarah, so why wasn't it kind of obvious the fact that he didn't want to go back without losing with the thought of the fact that he lost another daughter, basically?
Because I also want to say this. If this game is about revenge and Naughty Dog or Neil Druckmann wants us to sympathize with another character, which we're going to talk about later, if they want us to sympathize with about that, but they don't let us sympathize, they don't even try to have us sympathize with Joel and his situation and why he did what he had to do, which is the complete opposite. We do sympathize with Joel and why he did it because us as humans, we would do the exact same thing that Joel would have done.
Yeah, and anybody who says otherwise is either a fucking terrible person or just straight up like are lying to you. It's one thing to sacrifice random people. Like there's it's one thing to sacrifice someone you don't even know to save the lives of others, but it's another thing to sacrifice the lives of someone you truly care for the lives of everybody. And it's like, come on, with the world that Joel and Ellie had to cross through, you really want to sacrifice someone that you genuinely care about for a bunch of shitty people.
And add to the fact that, yes, it was a selfish decision, but how would you feel if the person that was going to be taken away from you and you had to live in a world that doesn't even care about you, that has a bunch of zombies roaming around and a lot of people that would kill you on sight? Would you really sacrifice that person that you care about the most in order to have that world that doesn't really care about you living in it?
Yeah, and it's like, come on, we live in a shitty... In today's standards, I think we can all agree that our world is pretty shitty. I wouldn't risk anybody I care about for this piece of shit world. In fact, it's already been established that the Earth doesn't need us human beings, so why would I save them?
And in universe of The Last of Us, it is said that I love this little conversation that Ellie and Joel have in the first game. It's an optional conversation, and Joel says, sacrifice the few to save the lives of many. And Ellie herself says, well, that's stupid. So if Ellie herself says, well, that's stupid, then she could have realized what Joel did.
No, but her life would have had. And then she has the audacity in the second game to say that her death would have given her life so much more meaning, as if her life already doesn't have any meaning to Joel. Ungrateful little bitch.
When it does have a lot of meaning to Joel, to Tommy, to Dina, to Jesse,
to Maria, like literally.
She just says that utterly depressing line that just makes me feel like, ugh.
And then, like, honestly, going a little forward than that, this is part of the reason why I don't want to take too much of it, because I do want to save the ending for last, but all this contributes to the fact that this is also a revenge storyline, and then the ending happens, and then the first thing I had to say is why. Like, that's all I'm going to say. Because, again, my main problem with the story overall is that our main protagonist, Ellie, just makes the worst decisions possible in this game. And it almost makes her impossible to sympathize, yet we're supposed to sympathize with her. But I'm getting ahead of myself. But, I don't know. I don't like this direction of Ellie one bit. There are moments within the game that I genuinely did like. Again, I mentioned the flashback scenes and the PTSD scene. That's about it. In terms of decisions that she makes on her own, I don't agree with literally all of them.
Just entirely her hatred for Joel is just, it doesn't make sense.
And I honestly don't like it. It butchers their relationship, and it butchers a beautiful relationship that was really perfectly established in the first game.
To me, it just seems like an excuse to just have them have tension before Joel dies.
Yeah, because now, and then here's the thing, it bothers me even more because now the tension isn't even because she misses Joel. It's because, like, she never got a chance to forgive him, you know? Bitch, you had 2 years of your fucking life, just saying. It's mostly like you don't know what you have. It's like the message, I guess, is like you don't know what you have until it's gone type of thing. But I still don't like the setup that led to that theme.
Yeah.
My next issue with the game, I don't like any of the new characters. Jesse is the most decent one in my opinion, but I don't like I don't like Abby and I don't like any of her crews. I don't care about Dina. Like I don't care about half the characters. Owen, I would have liked Owen the most because I think he was the only one out of Abby's crew that had a unique, inner conflict with himself. But then he fucked up his character.
Marcos, every time you mention Owen, I just get like triggered about a specific scene.
And you know what? I have that in my shit that I don't like. We'll get to it when we get to it. But to put it simple, he was the only character that I think I would have actually liked, but then they butchered his character in the end. I don't think any of these characters.
I also get triggered. Hold on. Okay, this slut emphasized so much that Owen was Neil Druckmann.
Okay, so wait. Before we get to that,
emphasized so much that Owen was Neil Druckmann. Every time I look at Owen now, I see Neil Druckmann.
Okay, well,
that shitty ass scene that we all know what I'm talking about, by the way. That shitty ass scene, I just see Neil Druckmann's face.
It doesn't help the fact that people are memeing it. Anyway, but there's a possibility that might have not been the case. So I just want to clear that out. We don't
you put so much emphasis on it.
That it's the director, that he self-inserted himself. Yeah, that's what a lot of people said. But a lot of people apparently say that it's fabricated, that it's not really him that did it. But I still don't like that scene for numerous reasons, and I think it's a huge contradictory to Neil Druckmann's very own agenda. And I'll get to it when we get to it. But to put it lightly, Owen would have still been the most decent character for me, but they still butchered his character. Like near the end. I don't care about Mel because she's just the pregnant lady. You told me that Manny was the most decent. I disagree. Manny to me is the character that spits on Joel's dead body, and he's just a dude that watches anime. If that's the only thing that he talks in Spanish and he watches anime. That's it. That's literally his entire character. He's not even.
Hey, I mean, maybe it's like funny for me whenever I see just a Latino, because like we're Latino and we're Hispanic, by the way, so we can say this. Don't come at us and say, "Oh my God, you're hating on Latino people." We're from Puerto Rico,
We have a right.
So we can say this shit. It's funny whenever he says like "cabrón" or "puta madre." Just for me, it's like, oh shit.
I guess. If anything, that's how much I give a shit about a diverse cast. It's great that if you have a cast that's diverse, but if you're depending on the fact that I'll like a character because he is this and that, you're wrong. If the character lacks a personality, I don't care. And that's my problem with Manny. Aside from the Latino guy who says shit in Spanish, and then who claims that he watches anime, I don't care about him.
Oh yeah, but I dislike the fact that they just have him talk in Spanish just to emphasize that he's Latino.
And then I don't like Lev for many, many, many reasons.
You mean Caillou?
Whatever.
You mean Egg from the last?
Shut the fuck up. Lev's entire character is literally like, this is a perfect example of a character that literally is just pushing at a specific agenda. Lev was just there because he's trans, and his entire character is that he's trans. That's it. His mom did not approve.
We will shit you not. This character was just made to be in a religious cult, and once that was the plot line for Lev's character, I completely knew what it was, and I completely hated it because I hate the cliche that any game or any media puts against religion, that it's the most evil thing and that it's disgusting the way it treats trans people or homophobic people, or the way religion treats people of different sexual orientations, and that is completely wrong.
I'm surprised.
I hate that cliche. I hate that stereotype. And I hate that storyline completely, and that's the reason why I hate Lev's character, because it's just used so that their mother, Lev's mother, who is extremely religious, hates the fact that she turns trans. In a normal society, if anybody's religious, and by the way, people are still religious, just the fact that they're religious doesn't have anything bad to do with any sexual orientation or that they're gay or anything. This game just shoves down your throat that they're a religious cult and they hate Lev being trans just because of their religious beliefs. That, to me, is just entirely stupid.
Not only that, but when you realize that's the entire purpose that Lev's character plays, then why should I give a shit about him? Like he's just outside of his storyline. He's just a boy with a bow and arrow, and he's Abby's buddies. And I'm already going to tell you this: I hate any character that's friends with Abby. Period. So there was nothing that I was gonna do that was gonna have me empathize with the character. I don't care about Lev. I don't care, and I also don't like the actor. And there's a really good video that talks about Naughty Dog's agenda, unironically before Last of Us Part 2 got leaked. So it honestly ages like fine wine. And Ian Alexander, the person that plays Lev, not only was casted just because he is trans in real life, but he's also the most toxic person on Twitter. So. He's not even a good choice of an actor or a good role model.
See, I don't have a problem with transgender characters being represented in video games or movies, or gay characters being represented in video games or movies. I don't have a problem with that at all. In fact, I'm all for it. It's fine. It's okay. But when you put an entirely bad light on something else, more so religion, just for the sake of representing a transgender character, if that's the only storyline you could have come up with for this character, then I'm not going to like it.
And here's the thing.
I can also say that if the character was just trans and he didn't have any storyline at all and he was just Abby's friend, I would have liked that character if he had a personality. But if his story is completely about religion and how religion treats transgender people, then I'm sorry, I don't like it at all.
And then, and it's also another story if that's their entire character, and that's about it. Now, before you think we're homophobic, let me tell you the characters that are either gay, bisexual, or asexual that I really like, and actually, for multiple reasons besides their sexuality. Believe it or not, Avatar Kyoshi from The Last Airbender has been recently confirmed to be gay. I honestly don't really understand why they decided to lay that on her character, because their entire character is the fact that she was the longest living Avatar, and she also formed the Dai Li and the Kyoshi Warriors. She formed both of those factions, and she's a fucking badass. To me, her sexuality doesn't mean anything to me, because she could be gay or be straight. That doesn't take away the fact that she's still a bona fide badass. Then there's also a Mortal Kombat character that is extremely underrated, in my opinion, that I think had the most potential in the new timeline, called Kung Jin, who was also confirmed to be gay and actually had a really good scene with Raiden in MKX. And he's one of the really well-written LGBTQ characters. And there's also Tracer. Tracer is bisexual. And that's another character that I genuinely really like. In fact, she's actually my favorite female in Overwatch. And last, the asexual category, Todd Chavez from BoJack Horseman. These are all characters that have so much personality, so much background, and so much that expands on the world that they're in, that I genuinely like them, not because they're gay, but because they are genuinely very well written characters. If being gay is their only character, or asexual being their only character, I don't care about who they're interested in. I care about their personality, what they bring to the table, how well written they are. Like
and their actions in a story.
Like, I fucking love Tracer, and I don't even care that she was gay. In fact, I had a feeling that was going to be the direction of the character, and I still love her. I love her. But yeah,
and Soldier 76 is gay, and I don't mind.
He's a fucking badass.
I don't mind that Soldier 76 is gay. It doesn't matter to me if they're gay or trans or whatever. In fact, there is even a trans character in Overwatch. I think her name's Zarya.
Oh, well, I didn't know that, to be honest, but I actually really like Zarya. Zarya's actually one of the characters I use in Overwatch.
And I don't mind Zarya being transgender at all. So...
I didn't even know that, actually. But anyway, point is, if your entire character is because you're gay or trans, and you're expecting me to like that character because he's gay or trans, I'm sorry, you failed. Because I don't like a character based on their love interests or beliefs.
And also, I do have to say this. Lev's story is just... Lev also makes entirely bad decisions. I mean, let's put this in context. Lev lives in a religious cult in the Last of Us 2 universe. You want me to really believe that Lev she knows that these people are religious fanatics. She knows that her mom is one of those religious fanatics. Yet she expresses that she's transgender to a religious cult, and her religious fanatic of a mother, her mom, Lev knows that her mom would have killed her that would have killed him if he explained that he was trans. He knew that, yet he expresses it anyway.
Not only that, but he specifically goes back to the island just so he can see his mother. And if you really wanted to go into perspective, he got his own sister killed.
Yeah.
If he never left to that island and stayed with Owen, then both Yara would have still been alive.
Yeah, he just goes there to tell his mom that he's trans. His mom tries to kill him, and then he kills his mom.
Yep, what a character.
That's so stupid. You live in an... Oh my god. You live in a post-apocalypse. God damn it.
Yeah, but that's...
You really gotta be fucking stupid for that to happen. You really gotta be stupid for that to happen.
Yep, well, that's his character, and that's apparently character growth for the internet. Anyway, let's move on. I already expressed that I don't like any of the new characters, or that I just don't care about half of them. I haven't mentioned Abby because she has an entirely different topic, specifically dedicated to her. Also, here's my next problem. There is literally not a single reason why any of the WLF would let Ellie or Tommy live. Especially after Ellie went out of her way to find Abby and kill some of their members. There's no reason why they let them live. Because the entirety of Jackson was going to go after them? Bitch, not everybody went from Jackson's to get you. So why do you think that if you let them live, that no one was going to go after you? You literally only had two...
Neither would Abby either. Neither would Abby let Ellie and Tommy live, because it is expressed later in the story that Abby is one of the best WLF soldiers, not because she's good at following orders.
She's really good at killing.
She's a great WLF soldier because she's really good at killing people. That's why. So there's no reason in Abby's character to let Ellie and Tommy live. Entirely, that's just for the plot to keep going.
Yeah, and then the worst part is, there's literally two other occasions where they could have killed Ellie after Joel's death. But because one person decided to be rebellious about it, about telling Isaac about these criminals, that gave them a chance to escape. And then the other time is when Abby finds Tommy after losing Owen and Mel and Alice and all of her friends. She finds Tommy and Ellie. She kills Jesse. So let's start with that.
And I also have to say this, that even in the story, it's even said, one of the characters says, Mel, to be exact. I think Mel says to Abby that she should leave their lives because the only thing she's good at is killing.
Yeah. She doesn't bring anything good to the table.
So if she's so good at killing, why did she leave Ellie and Tommy to live? That's so dumb, and it's completely said otherwise that that's entirely what she wouldn't do.
And I'm sorry, but there's no way Tommy's. This is another complaint I have with the story that I'm just gonna say it right now. Now that we're talking about the no reasons why Abby would not kill Ellie and Tommy, but there's no way Tommy survived getting shot the way he did by Abby. Like, there's no fucking way.
Yeah.
And with someone with precise aiming to the point that she was able to kill Jesse before Jesse could lay a finger on her, I'm sorry, she's not that bad at aiming.
Exactly. So she kills Jesse by shooting him in the face, but doesn't kill Tommy by shooting him in the back of the face.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. And then she lets Ellie and Dina live for no fucking reason, other than Lev was like, but killing is Abby. Killing is not.
Killing is bad. How many fucking people did you kill?
And it gets worse when we have to talk about the ending.
Are you fucking kidding me? Like, Abby, don't kill her. She's pregnant. How many fucking people did you kill? God!
It also doesn't help the fact that Ellie kills Mel, who was a pregnant lady too. So literally, I don't. It gets worse. It gets fucking worse at the ending.
There's a complete divide between Ellie and Abby. That a lot of people say that this is a revenge story and Ellie did bad things too. But there's a complete difference between Ellie and Abby. Ellie, immediately after she kills Owen and Mel, she immediately feels regret towards what she did. She immediately feels regret. After killing Mel and noticing that she's pregnant. She immediately is ready to puke. She's ready to puke. But Abby doesn't give a fuck that Dina's pregnant. She even says, "Good, she's pregnant. Good. I'm a fucking killer."
It's like, and then we have to empathize with Abby is the worst thing. That shit pisses me off. I don't want to complain about Abby just yet. I'm not ready there. Also, speaking of Dina being pregnant comes out of nowhere. She's been pregnant for weeks, and yet she never thought, maybe I shouldn't go with Ellie, considering that I have a baby inside me.
Or he's like, maybe I could be. Maybe I shouldn't tell Ellie that I'm pregnant.
Until, shit gets tense, and then maybe this is the perfect time. Okay, I found out that she's immune, right? I bet I can sink to that level. I'm pregnant.
Or the person who she's pregnant to, Jesse, she doesn't even tell Jesse that she's pregnant.
Yeah, and it's so obvious that it's his baby. Jesse deserves so much more, so much better.
It's Ellie who tells Jesse. So Dina doesn't even.
Jesse figures it out. Jesse kind of figures it out. He just asks Ellie to confirm it.
Yeah.
But still, it comes out of nowhere. It's so random and it's so stupid.
Baby. It's obviously Jesse's baby because in the first part, the game literally tells you that Dina and Jesse were together for a very long time. So, in that very long time, they didn't have sex. Really.
And then you're gonna also tell me that, and then what's the alternative? That she fucked someone else before kissing Ellie after breaking up with Jesse? And even chronologically, that doesn't make any sense unless you really want to get to the point that Dina may have potentially cheated on Jesse if it's not his child.
Which would make Dina a much more horrible character than she actually is.
So, yeah. Anyway. Now let's get to moving forward. To put it simple, Dina's pregnancy comes out of nowhere, and I think if you remove Dina out of the equation, I think the story would have just been more straightforward and consistent. But then we had to add drama to the mix. So unironically, back to the advertising, they never advertised that Ellie was going to be traveling with Dina at all. In fact, it was
They
advertised.
advertised that Dina was gonna die.
Yeah, that was it. That's so true.
They advertised that Abby was the one that killed Dina.
Yeah, and then Joel would help him much later, but nope, Dina and Jesse.
That's not it. Which I would argue that's a lot better.
Anyway, on my next complaint, Abby's story takes up half the game. This I have an issue with. I don't want to get too much specific into Abby's character yet, but if you're gonna push the envelope on the fact that you really want me to care about this character, why did you make me play half the game with Ellie, and then play the other half as Abby, instead of trying to mix them up and have it be a little bit more consistent and more lenient? By the time we get to Abby's half, I was literally suffering to the point that we weren't getting anything from Ellie or Tommy until the last day of Seattle. You have to go to 3 days of Seattle. You already went through it with Ellie, now you gotta go through it with Abby. By the third day is when you start seeing some Ellie and Tommy shit. Mostly Tommy stuff, but you'll at least see the impact that Ellie does have, but they really shoehorned Abby's storyline in this to the point that the pacing, which is my next complaint, the pacing is awful. It drags. And then you're supposed to care about her relationship with Owen? And let's talk about the stupid retcon of Abby's father. So now we gave this one random NPC that, unironically, I think you might have the option to not kill in the first game. We gave this random NPC a character. Not just a character, but the father of our main antagonist. And then there's a really dumb retcon. Not only is that a dumb retcon in my eyes, but there's a funny little plot hole that they decided to make. So Abby's father was the only person that could create the vaccine out of Ellie. That's what they established in the second game in a voice recorder that Ellie finds when she returns to the Fireflies Hospital. It established the fact that that was the only doctor that could create a vaccine, and Joel killed him. If that's the case, then why, after killing all the doctors and getting Ellie out of the building, did Marlene try to convince Joel to leave Ellie behind and to go through the procedure anyway, when Joel already killed him?
Maybe somebody could argue that Marlene doesn't know that he's dead, but
still, she wouldn't have. It's not far-fetched to think that what Joel did, that Marlene would have known what Joel did. And again, if there was a possibility that Joel did kill the doctor, wouldn't she want to check that first before trying to convince him? It's a stupid plot hole. It's it doesn't make sense. And if anything, this plot hole makes it seem like the vaccine was kind of worthless then. Because at most, you're just going to kill one person for a vaccine, and then you have to think about the shipping, you have to think about giving it the long term of things, and you have to understand the fact that people are going to get antsy with the vaccine. This vaccine was not going to be sprayed for shit if it's only one person that actually knows how this shit works. And they think they can get a vaccine out of one fucking person and have it work long term. Makes me think that this vaccine was kind of useless. So not only is there a plot hole with the storyline, but it makes me doubt that this would have even worked. And hell, there's already been reports of it doubting it could actually even work in the real world, so you'd be killing Ellie for nothing. More than enough of a reason for me to think that Joel actually did the right thing, even though it was still a selfish decision to save Ellie.
Yep.
So, dumb plot hole, dumb character. It's still not enough for me to empathize with Abby one bit. And now here's another thing. Because there is that half gap between Abby and Ellie, because you already go through the entire shit with Ellie, you already killed Owen, Nora, and Mel, and Mel's dog Alice. Then, when you play the half with Abby, you're going through the adventures with Mel, and she's pregnant throughout the entire thing, fighting a bunch of zombies. There are literally no stakes of what happens between Abby, Alice, and Mel especially, because you already know what happens to those characters. So it's kind of hard for me to care that the pregnant lady is going to get attacked by zombies, knowing that she doesn't die in these scenarios one bit. So
Yep.
there are literally no stakes both times you're playing as Abby because you already know when such characters die, especially Owen and Mel. So this entire thing is just to make me to try and like these characters, but I don't care about these characters, and they also don't have the right personality for me to care about these characters. Also, now it's time for the scene that you like. Abby and Owen's sex scenes.
No, don't talk about it. No.
I'm only gonna say this.
Just say that. No. Just say Owen and Abby's sex scene. Okay, let's get to the other one.
Sony, your double standard sucks. That's all I'm gonna say. And also, Neil Druckmann, if you think that this is an entirely good way to show a strong female character without over-sexualizing the character, I'm sorry, you fucked up. Also, you fucked up Owen's character because now he went from a character that actually had a legit inner conflict to a cheating asshat. Because mind you, he was still dating Mel, and he impregnated her too. Then he fucked another girl. So you like completely butchered his character too, to the point that he's such an unlikable cockhead.
Yep.
That's it. Sony's double standards are pure shit, and Neil Druckmann, you're a fucking hypocrite. The next complaint. Abby is not sympathetic one bit, and this game does not give me a good reason otherwise.
I want to get to that. I want to get to that too when we get to Abby's character, but I don't want to talk about that right now.
Moving on. Abby not only kills Joel and Jesse, shoots Tommy in the face, but you have to fucking play as her to beat up Ellie.
Granted, that boss fight it's pretty cool, but I would have liked it if my brother had this idea, which I thought was entirely pretty good. It was really good. And my brother had this idea where, you know how you play as Ellie first and then you play as Abby?
Yeah.
He had this idea where the boss fight intertwined, and first you play as Abby, but then once the first phase ends, you play as Ellie. The camera pans and you play as Ellie.
Yeah, I think that would have been 20 times better than what we got. Here it's just a one-sided...
Because that way you wouldn't know who would win.
Yeah, but this time it's a one-sided, complete clusterfuck of a fight that's literally just meant for you to fuck up the protagonist of the first game for no reason other than, well, now you're in Abby's side, even though I'm pretty sure 99.9% of like true Last of Us fans would not side with Abby against Ellie. But I would have agreed that they at the very least intertwined with each other. I would have been fine with that too, because then it would not be one-sided. Both characters share the spotlight, and you don't know who would end up winning. But granted, while you don't end up playing as Abby to hunt down Ellie and kill her in the end, you do play as her to beat the fuck out of her. So if anything, it's still just as bad as the leak said it. But yeah. So... And also, we've already talked about the fact that it just doesn't make any sense that Abby would have not killed Ellie and Dina. But whatever. The next complaint is that after that incident, I think a year has passed and Dina's child was born and everything. Ellie and Dina are, raising their child in a farm, and this is when the post-traumatic stress scene actually kicks in, which I already mentioned that it was a genuinely good scene, and I have no complaint about that. And then Tommy shows up out of nowhere, surviving the gunshot that Abby laid on him. And he tells her that he's...
On his face, mind you, on his face.
Okay.
A headshot.
So Tommy found out where Abby was, and he tells Ellie. And now, let me tell you why this is pure character assassination. Tommy left Jackson alone to hunt down Abby and the WLF. Alone. He even leaves a note for Maria to read and to tell her that Ellie is going to try and follow him so that you should stop her. So he wanted to protect Ellie and avenge Joel. And he even goes as far as whenever he gets ambushed by Abby, he tells Ellie to get the fuck out and leave him. So Tommy, for a while, wanted to protect Ellie. This time, after getting his ass beat by Abby, and was willing to, by the way, was willing to go back to Jackson and leave Abby to whatever fate would happen to her. So he was going to give up on avenging Joel and go back to Jackson with Ellie, Jesse, and Dina. So then he comes back with information on Abby to try and tells Ellie that she should be there to try and kill Abby, and the fact that he can't go with her because he is injured, he can barely walk, he can't do the job himself. He can't guarantee her safety, and he gets mad at her when she says no. Why does he get mad at her? Because she didn't want to kill Abby when he himself gave up on that pipe dream too. Especially considering the fact that Tommy would have probably protect Ellie first and worry about the revenge story later. So they fucking assassinated Tommy's character in this game. Hell, he and Maria already broke up too, so that's great.
Yeah.
It just shows the fact that Neil Druckmann really does not like the Last of Us 1 characters. That's great. And there's also a scene where Abby implies that when Abby was looking for the fireflies with Lev, apparently there's another one is the fact that she trusted some random person for leads on the firefly by even trading a pistol. That's really stupid. I don't get why in this game everybody's so trustworthy in a zombie apocalypse when there's so many shitty people in this game. I don't get it. Joel and Tommy did it, and now Abby did it. This game's fucking stupid. And then finally, I have my next complaints are within Abby's character, which I'm going to read this. It also talks about the ending. I'm just going to read this and we'll elaborate a little bit further. Abby shows no regrets with her actions, nor empathizes with Ellie in any way. She doesn't blame herself for the deaths of her friends, yet she leaves alive despite the fact that Ellie, who went through PTSD because of her and what she did, had no reason to let her go. Whether she killed Abby and Lev, or leaves Lev for dead on the cross thing, or if she didn't, there was no cycle of revenge that she ended. No one was going to go after her if she killed Abby because Abby had already left the WLF, and nobody from the Fireflies was going to know that Ellie was the one that killed Abby when after they contacted her. So, for those that say that she ended the revenge cycle by letting her go, it's grade A fucking bullshit. If she killed Abby on the spot, nothing would have fucking happened. No one was going to go after her. No one was going to give a shit about Abby. All of Abby's friends are dead, and if he would have killed Lev too, or left him on the crucifix, he would have died too. No one was going to go after you. What cycle did you end it?
Yeah.
I have more complaints about the ending, which we'll get to. But anyway, and I also have more complaints to Abby's character, which we'll get into. Anyway, my last complaint with the story before the ending is that none of the characters grow. If your opinion on characters' growth is the fact that Abby doesn't enjoy killing people anymore, you failed. If Lev just realized that his mom doesn't like him and that's his character growth, you failed. If Ellie is just extra depressed and that's character growth, you failed. If Tommy's just angry, you failed. None of these characters grow. There is no character growth or character development in this entire shitty, fucking, terrible, no good story.
Joel doesn't grow because,
Joel's dead! Of course he doesn't fucking grow! None of these characters develop in any way that...
Dina leaves Ellie because Ellie leaves, so there's no growth there. Jesse dies, there's no growth.
Exactly, none of these characters really develop in a way that actually makes them different from what they were. If Abby was not in the position she was in the ending, I can guarantee you that she would actually beat the fuck out of Ellie the same way that she did when we played as her. So really, there is no revenge cycle that everybody's talking about. And maybe if there was a revenge cycle, I think you spawned in a ton of revenge cycles after killing Abby's other friends, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So maybe you should have thought about that. Maybe Abby started a revenge cycle for those that cared about Jesse.
Yeah.
So
And
I'm sorry.
I want to bring up another awful thing that I hate about the story, and it really doesn't play into the game, The Last of Us 2, but it has to do with Neil Druckmann.
Okay, do you want to give it right now, or do you want to move on to the next topic?
Yeah, right now. So,
Alright, go for it.
as the game was being marketed, as the game was being given its trailers, and we were shown gameplay and everything, there was one thing that Neil Druckmann said that just pissed me off about him as a director and him leading this game. He said, and I quote, "You may not like this game." Why the fuck would you say that about a game that you're directing, that you have the hopes of people buying, playing it, loving it, just like the first game? But you say you may not like this game, you may in fact hate it. Who the fuck do you think you are?
And not only that, but it's like what I don't like about the people that are defending this game is that they assume that we hate it because of gay characters or the LGBT characters when I couldn't give a rat's ass about it. Ellie was gay in the first game, right? Or at least in the Left Behind DLC. You know Bill from the first game exists, right? When it's heavily implied that he's gay. Oh, but we fucking hate Last of Us 1, right? We all love the game. Why do you think we want to hate the sequel to one of our favorite games? Like, we don't want to hate this game. I want to love this game. I was excited for this game. In fact, I was still excited for the game leading up to the lockdown when the game got delayed. I would have still bought the fucking game. And I didn't even see the leaks. You want to know why I even got to see the leaks in the first place? Because Troy Baker tweeted that we needed to be open-minded with the story. And when I saw that, I'm thinking, so Bill dies pretty fucking early in the game? And then I saw the leaks, and that was exactly the case. Now, the next topic we're going to talk about is Joel's death and why it is so stupid.
Hold on. Before we start again, The Last of Us 2 was also made in a climate where there were employees that were being treated wrongfully
Yeah.
and were not being paid as much. And Sony wants to spin this narrative that the leaks that the leaks happened because of hackers.
I don't believe that one fucking bit.
I don't believe that for 1 second, that it was because of hackers. Because number one, why would hackers even leak the game just for the sake of leaking it? I don't really understand what purpose does that have. There's more purpose in a disgruntled employee leaking the game because of the way that he was treated. Not just for the sake of leaking the game, but for ruining this game because of the way that he was treated, of course. Then that would justify being leaked. And thank God for the employee that leaked the game.
Yep, saved me $60.
And let us know beforehand, because the leaks are true. At least some of them are.
Yeah.
But the ones that were written on 4chan, they're not real. But the ones that were leaked beforehand, when the whole leak fiasco started, those are all true.
Yeah, Joel's death did happen. Dina getting pregnant did happen. Ellie didn't die, but honestly, I feel like you would have done us a favor if she did die, honestly, because then that would not have guaranteed a part 3.
I don't even think there's a guarantee of a part 3. And if there is, it has to be about Abby and Lev, and who the fuck wants to play as those two shitty ass characters?
The fucking media that gave this shit a 10 out of 10, and it's a fucking masterpiece. This game is a masterpiece of shit. That's what it is.
Now we can get to Joel's death.
And then, before we get to it, let me just end this part of the topic. It makes more sense about the disgruntled employee because a lot of Naughty Dog's employees left, especially prior to Last of Us Part 2's announcement. And the fact is, a lot of people don't really look up to Neil Druckmann as like a genius or anything. Hell, we could even say that the reason why Uncharted 4 and The Last of Us 1 were good, not because of him. So, really think about that. I honestly, and also considering the fact that the man has a gigantic ego, I would not be surprised if people found the man difficult to work with, to the point that they end up leaving the fucking company, and the disgruntled employees would have been that they disagreed with the direction of the story, much like how Mark Hamill felt to the direction of The Last Jedi when that film was coming out. Like, it happens. People don't like everything that's put on the final product. And then there's also the fact that this is like the third game that's gotten leaked because of disgruntled employees, with Red Dead Redemption 2 and Mortal Kombat 11 also happening there. And all those leaks turned out to be true. But yeah, now we can really think about that when you're talking about this masterpiece of gaming. Anyway, now let's get on to Joel's death and why it's the dumbest shit ever. Okay, where do I even begin? So let's start with the fact that you play as Abby, who runs off from the fucking mountains to get to Jackson, all on her own, with no plan or idea of how to lure Joel outside. So, for all of you that said that she's a badass for doing this, I think she's fucking stupid, but, whatever. She goes in, attacked by a shitload of zombies, and was about to die, and Joel saves her. Convenient writing, people pointed that out. I don't really give a shit because of what comes out there. So, really, yeah, Joel saves her life. Tommy introduces himself and Joel's, like, they reveal their names to Abby. Abby reveals her names. It's supposed to mean that you're going to trust each other, which makes sense in that scenario. What I don't think is good is the fact that they do the same thing when they return to the house with all the group. Once they do return with the group with Abby, I have to... Look, Tommy is the younger brother, and I get that he's the most naive of the two, but here's the thing that they made it perfectly clear in the first game. Joel, while he did keep Tommy alive, and they both survived together, Tommy's not the same little naive brother that he was before the events of the first, like, in the opening of the first game. He's tougher. He's about at the same level as rough-skinned as Joel. He's a sweetheart too, but he's also not afraid to get his hands dirty. And you see this when the amount of times he tries to get Abby killed. And then here, in this scenario, when he's surrounded by people he doesn't know, when he and his brother are surrounded by people he doesn't know, he reveals to them where they live, who their names are, and neither Joel nor Tommy noticed Ellie reaching out for a shotgun to shoot Joel in the leg. Like, how can anybody defend this scene as being good? When I feel like the first thing that happens in the first game is that you shouldn't trust anybody.
It's even stated that Joel never lets his guard down whenever he's like surrounded by people he doesn't know. Yeah. Especially after what he did.
And then we're also talking about the same person who didn't even help a father and a mother and father and a child in the beginning of the game because he was thinking about his own child and his brother. This is also the same person that was willing to run someone over that was faking their injuries. This is the same Joel.
Yeah.
Yet he lets his guard down completely by a bunch of strangers. That's so out of character of him. And guess what? This game reminds you why you shouldn't trust random people, especially if you're outnumbered.
Exactly.
They shoot his fucking leg, and they beat the fuck out of Tommy, and then Abby's like, "Do you remember me?" Joel hasn't even seen you. You weren't in the fucking first game. Of course, I don't know who you are. Why didn't she give me her fucking evil speech that she rehearsed hours into just so I could know who the fuck you are before I get assassinated by you? But no!
How the fuck would Joel know who she is?
How? She wasn't in the fucking room! This is fucking 10 out of 10 good writing! Who can defend this garbage? It's so bad. There's no reason why Joel and Tommy would trust these guys whether they saved Abby or not, because people are assholes in this world. And then they leave Ellie and Tommy alive for no fucking reason. Why would they leave them alive? Where were they gonna go? They were gonna leave Jackson alone? Oh my god, this game is garbage! How does this shit have a 95 on Metacritic? How do people say that it's a masterpiece that's better than this fucking first game? It is so bad! It is so
in the first place, why would even Joel save Abby if he doesn't save anybody in the first game other than Ellie? He doesn't save anybody! Why would he save Abby?
And then the ungrateful bitch doesn't even think twice of the fact that the same person she's trying to kill just saved her life, maybe thinking, maybe he's not so bad after all. That would have been a better story than this hot pile of garbage fucking diarrhea!
Oh my god.
This shit is garbage!
Keep going.
Oh, I'm done with this scene. Joel's death is dumb. It's the worst scene fucking ever. The Last Jedi is a fucking masterpiece compared to this hot garbage.
And then you want us to sympathize with that bitch after
torturing
Joel to death?
Let's start with Abby. Let's talk about what the fuck is wrong with this shitty ass fucking character. Let's start with it. Let's start with the fact that it's a little bit more than she just killed Joel. She kills Joel in the first 2 hours. Let's start with that. Gene, I gotta ask you this. If you had someone that you cared about so deeply, like, it could be your mother or your brother or your girlfriend or anything. If it was either one of those two, maybe they're not perfect, maybe they don't even make the best decisions, but you still care about these people. If any one of them got assassinated by someone, would you ever give a shit about their backstory?
No.
No one with common sense.
I could give 2 shits if they cured cancer or whatever the fuck. I would go to their house and fuck them up.
Anybody
I don't
with
give a shit if they cure cancer or save children or a fucking saint or a kindergarten teacher.
I love how this game tries to make Abby seem like she's a good person by having her save children and having her pet dogs and whatever, even though she's a fucking serial killer. I don't care. And it's like the worst part about this character is that it's super heavily dependent on the fact that this game, you really need to empathize with this character, because if you don't like Abby or if you don't like her story at all, you're gonna hate this game. And you wanna know why? Because the pacing is atrocious, and the pacing is atrocious because you had to spend half the fucking game as Abby. The game doesn't even try to space the times you're with Ellie and then with Abby. No. Ellie?
I don't give a shit about Abby in the first place!
You wanna know why I don't give a shit about Abby in the first place? Not just because she killed Joel, but she was never marketed as a character that we were gonna even be remotely giving the focus to. In the cover, you see Ellie. In the trailers, you see Ellie. How many times do you see Abby? Nothing. She takes half the fucking story. And guess what? She is
You
not
play as her and you beat the fuck out of Ellie.
and she is not the reason why we love the first game. We like the first game because of the characters. Joel and Ellie and Tommy. We care about those characters. We want to see more about those characters. In fact, that is what you were marketing for this game in the fucking first place.
But you give us Abby and
You give us a poor man's love story of a character who doesn't even give a shit about. Oh no, will sometimes give a shit about you if you're fuckable at that moment.
And why the fuck would I sympathize in the first place with a serial killer who tortures people and who tortures people while she kills them?
And then Mel doesn't even like you. Manny was not gonna like Manny and Nora only helped you to some extent, but I'm pretty sure both of them were just gonna betray you the moment they were given the choice to. And then like, you want me to sympathize with her? She doesn't even sympathize with Ellie after what she did. She doesn't reflect on her own actions. She doesn't blame herself in any sort of capacity. She's just sad that her friends died. Oh my, oh no, oh wow, oh geez, my poor friends. She actually had people she cared about. I don't care.
She only cared about herself, which is in fact what Joel did, and yet she didn't sympathize with that. She didn't. She doesn't give a shit. She's like a serial killer who hides her true nature. And you can argue with me that she saves Lev and Yara and little kids and helps them, but I don't give a shit. She's not a good person.
Exactly. It's like, if you're going to write off that Joel's not a good person because of what he did to the scientists and saved Ellie, then Abby is nowhere near better. Which is ironic because they literally said that if they killed Ellie and Tommy, like, their excuse for not killing them is because, oh, we're no better than he is if we kill them. Bullshit. You're already no better than Joel was by simply murdering him for no fucking reason other than he killed my daddy and, like, because of him we don't have a vaccine when there was no evidence to suggest that it was even going to fucking work. Because only one asshat knew how to make a vaccine. Because it's a stupid plot hole in a retcon. And then I'm supposed to feel bad for this bitch. Fuck off.
I never cared about her in the first place. I never cared about the people that she helped. I don't give a shit about Lev's story, that piece of shit who's part of a religious cult, and then, mommy, I'm trans. Kill me. What the fuck?
Like the thing is, if you like Abby's storyline, good for you. But if you're gonna say that the people who don't like Abby's storyline are a bunch of sexist, transphobic, like, virgins, then honestly,
Another thing. The deaths of all her friends are entirely her fault.
Yeah.
They're entirely her fault. It's her own fault that Manny dies. It's her own fault that Mel dies, Owen dies. In fact, I don't give a shit about Owen because they had a gross-ass fucking bitch-ass sex scene. That's gross.
Yeah, trying to make sure you give us those strong female characters and not over-sexualizing them. Am I right, Neil Druckmann? Yeah, no, but it's okay to stick a dick up of Abby's ass, right? Oh yeah, and I also impregnated someone else, you cheating whore. Fuck this game.
It's fucking disgusting. It's disgusting.
And you know what? If you like, for those that are watching who somehow like this trash game,
I don't think in the sex scene, I think they even got it wrong. I don't think Abby would be submissive to Owen. I think Abby would grab a fucking stick and mash his ass. Like, I think she would be the top instead of Owen being top. Like, are you fucking kidding me? For real? She has bigger biceps than anybody in the fucking universe. Do you really think that I think that she's gonna have? That she's gonna be the one taking it? No, I think Owen would be taking a dildo up his ass with Abby pushing it up his ass. Like, really?
All right.
Really?
Okay. Now
What a wrong female character being submissive to somebody else.
And now the point that I was trying to make for quite some time. If you somehow like Abby's story, that's fine. You can like whatever you want. But don't go but I find more people that like and defend this game to shit on those that dislike it more so than the opposite. So I'm going to tell you something. You have no right to insult anybody for disliking the direction of this game, especially when half the game is covered with is filled with a character that was not in the marketing and was never addressed. It's more than just it was not pandered to us because you're right. This game shouldn't be pandering, but we did expect and damn right deserved a better sequel to this. You think it would be fun if Uncharted 4 had you play as Rafe, where you beat the shit out of Nate, kill Sully, and rape Elena? I think that would be fucking great. No.
That would be fucking disgusting.
Oh, but if Nadine were to do it, then it's bad.
No, imagine that if you play as Nadine by beating the shit out of Nate. I don't think I would like that one bit.
This is coming from the same game where fighting Nadine was basically impossible. So, I mean, take that for what you will, but whatever. Anyway, those are our 2 cents. You literally have no reason to, make fun of those that dislike this game. You have no reason to.
And I don't see Abby as a good person at all.
No, neither do I.
They want me to sympathize with her to actually feel like she's a good person. She's not. To me, she feels like a serial killer who's hiding their true nature. But once the shit hits the fan and their head snaps and things go the way they don't want them, everything they turn the tide to their own favor. I don't see that as a good person at all. I don't see Abby as a good person at all. I see Joel as a good person because even though what he did in the hospital, he fucking regrets what he does. He even tells Ellie that he didn't even want to do it.
Yeah.
He did it for the sake of saving her, but Abby does everything for her own selfish ambitions. I don't care that she helps little kids escape a religious cult. I don't care that she helps her friends. To me, it's only treated as if she's a serial killer and she's hiding her true nature from others, which she is.
Yeah, and there's no one in this entire planet that can convince me otherwise, honestly. And again, if you like it, cool, good for you. But honestly, for those that make fun of others, that's thinking that this game was going to sell well, or that you were going to taste the tears of those to prove them wrong, that this game is actually a fucking masterpiece because IGN gave it a 10 out of 10. Yeah, IGN is your credible source. Good for you. Honestly, go fuck yourselves. Honestly, all of you. Quit making fun of us for not liking a game that we don't like the direction of. And you know what? If we were watching it out of context, now we have the full context of it. And it's somehow worse than watching it out of context. So, honestly, fuck all of you. Fuck the critics. You disappointed me to the point that now I can't depend on any critics for their opinions on anything. And, yeah, honestly, all of you can take a rod up your ass and go fuck yourselves. This game is shit. This game is pure objective. It's objectively shit. If you like it, good for you. But it is hands down the worst Naughty Dog game ever made, hands down. Because at least their worst titles at the time were just alright or fun in some extent. In fact, like the original Crash game on the PlayStation, I don't even recommend anybody to play it because it's so dated in many areas. It's so hard. To get a gem and to save your game, you take all the boxes without dying, and there's not even a box count. However, the Insane Trilogy came out and fixed those problems. Now Crash 1 is an infinitely better game than it's ever been. So it's like...
Give me 1 second, I'll be right back.
Don't worry, I'll just say this part. It's like, my thing is, even their worst titles had something that you can enjoy. And if you enjoy this game, that's good for you. But in my eyes, and honestly, in terms of sequel-wise, Honestly, there's not even tiny fixes that can make this game any better than it already is. Like, I think the best thing you can do is to just delete this game from existence and start over, give us a new game, and call it the real Last of Us Part 2. And I think you'll actually make most of us happy, honestly. Right, the slut is back, and I have returned as well. So, again, final words. If you like Abby, good for you. But for those that don't like it, they have every right to dislike her. And really, really, like, honestly, I'm honestly surprised that we're even having a discussion like this. So, shall we move on, my dear slut?
Yes, we shall.
Well, it's time. And to think Joel's death and Abby were the most controversial topics for quite some time. Now let's get on to the new controversial take. The ending.
Oh, God.
So remember when I was talking about that Ellie makes a lot of questionable decisions and how Abby is not a sympathetic or empathetic character in any sort of capacity? After Ellie kills Owen and a pregnant lady and Mel and Nora, brutally kill Nora, mind you, we come into the final battle. By the way, Ellie's already gone through PTSD. She can't get over the fact that Abby is still alive. She kills Joel, remember? She also killed Jesse. She also wounded Tommy. Now it's up to the final battle. It's a really brutal fight between her and Abby. And Abby even bites off her fingers. You know, it's pretty brutal. And Ellie lets her go.
For no fucking reason.
Like, if you were gonna, I honestly want to question if Neil Druckmann or Naughty Dog honestly thinks we're stupid. I really need to know. Because I think this is insulting to my intelligence, or to anybody's intelligence, honestly. I think this is fucking brain dead dumb. You mean to tell me that this entire theme is revenge is not so good, and the only way, and violence and revenge is not good, and the only way that you could have really conveyed that message is to have Ellie spare the person that gave her so much trauma? After killing a shitload of people, a dog, multiple dogs, and Owen and a pregnant lady. Oh, but yet she stopped the cycle of revenge, right? And not only that, it gets so much better from here. She goes back home, her girlfriend leaves her, and she can't even play the guitar. The end.
That ending is so bad on so many levels.
It's like, how low can you honestly leave our our main protagonist? That is the lowest common denominator type of ending, and it's such horseshit. And after everything, you couldn't have at least given her the satisfaction to just kill Abby and regret it? She couldn't have killed Abby. Who was going to go after Ellie? What cycle of revenge ended because she didn't kill Abby? What if the Fireflies wanted to go after Ellie? I don't know. Like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. It sucks.
And then, to put it worse, she gains nothing from all this. His entire quest was all for nothing. Because she doesn't accomplish anything. She doesn't learn anything other than killing is bad after she killed a shitload of people. Like,
why would she leave Abby alive? Why? After everything, after every person that she killed, why would you leave the one person who killed your father, surrogate father, who killed him? You leave her alive. For what end? For what? After everybody that you killed. Sure, you feel regret, but why did you even leave in the first place?
Yeah, if that was the case, she might as well have not left Dana. And then, But and even then, like I love this. Imagine, it ends the cycle of revenge. But do you think she's gonna get over PTSD? Because that shit goes away magically, right?
No.
Doesn't. And she's still alive. Abby's still alive, which means that she could. That was good.
The door opened to The Last of Us Part 3 with Abby and Lev.
Yeah, great writing. 10 out of 10. Fucking masterpiece. Oh my god, I love it so much. I fucking hate it. It's dreadful. It's a mess. It's a disaster. I honestly don't even get, like, there's so much wrong with the ending. Ellie makes a lot of questionable decisions, and this is just one of them. There's no reason why she needed to leave Abby alive. Dina, that did not even love Ellie enough to stay. So, that's great. And then Ellie leaves with nothing. Her girlfriend leaves her. Tommy probably alienated himself from her because Tommy is another character that they assassinated. They had assassinated his personality. Ellie comes out with 2 fingers missing. She can't even play the fucking guitar, and the game ended with the fact that with the thought that she could have potentially have forgiven Joel after 2 years of isolating him. And people say this is good writing. People say that this is better than the first one. People said that this is.
Wait, what? Who the fuck says that?
If it's not better, then it's on par with the first game. But there are people that genuinely thought that this game was fucking, like, wonderful.
I normally don't judge anybody's opinion, but that's objectively the wrong opinion.
Yeah, no, it is wrong. It is objectively inferior to Last of Us 1, and in fact, I honestly think it's the worst game that Naughty Dog has ever provided, and no one can say otherwise. So let's get to the final topic of this podcast, and that is the agenda. Why the entire reason why this game is the way it is, and why we felt like despite the fact that we pretty much felt like or deserved that we could have gotten a better sequel, this was the shit we got. So, Gene, I think you have a stronger take on this than I do. So, do you want to take the lead, or?
I'll let you start.
Okay. So, remember when I was giving shit to Lev? Yeah, it's not the only case of Naughty Dog's agenda being pushed to the utmost extent. In fact, as far back as Last of Us 1's release, there was a press conference that just talks about Neil Druckmann's secret agenda of wanting to push female characters, to a position where they could not be, over-sexualized. Basically, he wants to create strong female characters, which I'll admit, I respect. Because there are female characters that are not so over-sexualized that I genuinely really like. And honestly, I don't mind that direction. I don't mind the mentality. What I don't like is how far they took it. Now, Ellie was a really good character in the first game, and I think she made a really good protagonist. But I would also argue that she was a good character because of her relationship with Joel, something that we didn't get much of in the second game. And here's the thing: it seems like there's a little bit more to this agenda. You'll probably go as far back as before Last of Us Part 2 was even released. We can go as far back with Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, where it's a nice little spin-off story between Chloe and Nadine. Not Chloe and Cutter, a character that we wanted to see more of after Uncharted 3, but Chloe and Nadine, a character that a lot of people would argue, but it's very divisive. I don't even know a lot of people that even love Nadine. But even if that was to be the case, more people love Cutter than Nadine. So why didn't they make a game focus on those two? We'll never know. Nor do we care to know. Anyway, point is, it was a harmless game. It's pretty fun. I actually enjoyed Lost Legacy just fine. It's not my favorite game, but I enjoy it. It's a fun little spin-off adventure series. Wait, what the fuck did I just say? Did I just say spin-off space adventure?
Oh god.
It's a fun spin-off adventure between 2 different Uncharted characters. That is fine. I didn't mind it. The only thing that was wrong is that later on, Neil Druckmann and Naughty Dog were in support of the idea of shipping these two characters and having them become a couple, even though Chloe was extremely into Nate, and she doesn't rub me as a character that is extremely gay. Um, Nadine also doesn't rub me in that aspect either. In fact, it's been kind of implied that Nadine and Wraith had some sort of chemistry. So I guess they're bisexual now, so I guess. But because people were in support of the shipping, it got to the point where even Naughty Dog and Neil Druckmann were pretty much on board with that shipping, so much so that they would share such posts in their Twitter. And that's the beginning of Naughty Dog's agenda. Because then you have a character in Lev who is trans, and you have the actor who is casted, Ian Alexander, because he's trans, and his filmography doesn't have much, like, at all. Like, literally, Last of Us Part 2 is the most noteworthy work that he's done. And then he's literally casted. In one of their press releases, their main hostie was a lesbian. No other reason than that. And half these characters couldn't really half these actors couldn't really explain what was even so charming about the first game. So it implies the fact that it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, as long as you fit into any of the LGBTQ category, you're likely going to play a big role in the story, and everybody's going to love you. And this is unfortunately what led to the creation of this game. The fact that we had to focus on a buff bodybuilding woman who's really good friends with a trans boy who kills one of our fan favorites with an asshole boyfriend. Yeah, I don't want this Naughty Dog direction in future games, but it's gonna be inevitable. This is one of the reasons why I don't want A Last of Us Part 3. I don't want it because of my investment with the series is dead, and I think they fucked up so bad that I don't think they can get themselves out of this situation. I also think that they should just create their new IP, put whatever their LGBTQ shit that whatever agenda they want to push into in those games, it'll get positive reviews and the user scores. Well, I'm pretty sure anybody from that were associated with Naughty Dog prior will not give a shit about the games anymore. So honestly, create your new IPs, but don't ever touch Last of Us or Uncharted ever again, because the Uncharted ended beautifully, Last of Us ended tragically, and honestly, at this point, just do whatever the fuck you want, but don't touch the established franchises that we've already grown to love. Especially if you want to push the agenda, then you want to do whatever the fuck you want. I don't care. I'm not going to support the company anymore because of the direction that they're going for. Even if Last of Us Part 2 was a good game, I still don't approve of the direction that they're going for, their attempts at shoehorning their agendas into their game rather than focusing on telling a good story, a good consistent story that everyone will enjoy, or as many people will enjoy. Because yes, you can't please everybody, but at least you'll have a very, very small backlash and more people supporting your game than a divided fan base. With that divisive fan base were people that used to love your games, Last of Us 1 included. So, unfortunately, the only reason why I even still support Sony was because of Naughty Dog, because they've never made a game that I hate. Now, with their direction, and with this game being the living proof, I don't support Sony anymore. I don't support Naughty Dog anymore. I do not like the way they reacted to the leaks. It made Disney look superior by a landslide because Disney handled Endgame and Rise of Skywalker leaks better than how Sony and Naughty Dog handled The Last of Us Part 2 leaks. And this is also, I'm noticing that the community, that the fan base is becoming increasingly toxic. I don't even want to be part of that fan base anymore. And yeah, I honestly am done with Sony. I'm done with everything that involves their product. I don't care about most of their games anyway. I only supported Naughty Dog, but now I don't even care about PlayStation. I will probably move over to PC, and that's where I want to do. That's where I'll spend the rest of my gaming times for the rest of my life until the day I die. So yeah, I don't support this company anymore, and I'm not even on PlayStation side anymore. So those are my 2 cents on the Naughty Dog agenda. I think they can do whatever the fuck they want, but I think they should just keep their dirty hands away from Last of Us. They've already done enough damage. Do not even touch Uncharted because there will be war. But yeah. Anyway, that's all I gotta say for this shitty company. Hashtag fuck Naughty Dog.
I don't mind the Naughty Dog agenda. I feel like it's noble to make strong female characters that are not over sexualized. I feel like that's very noble, obviously. But what I don't like is forcing something that shouldn't be forced in the first place. Something that should be, I don't know how to say it, but something that shouldn't be forced is the thing. I don't think that forcing it is a good way to represent it. I feel like Lev is not that good of a character, not because the character is trans, but because the character does not have a personality and the character doesn't do any good deeds that I would feel as to be relatable.
If you find it relatable, that's good. That's good for you. But honestly, I feel like if you want to make a character like Lev, there should be more to his character than just he's trans and that's it. Like he's not even a funny character either. So it's like
he's just very monotone. He's just very monotone. Doesn't have a sense of style. He just dresses up in these rags and shit, and it's like, really, dude?
Yeah.
So, and Abby is. I don't think they could have explained. They could have forced it more with Abby. Strong. I would say that she's like a bodybuilder. She looks like a bodybuilder.
Like Abby literally does look too much of a strong female character. I think they didn't need to make her that buff, but that's just my 2 cents.
They made her extremely buff, and I would know this because I'm studying this. So a woman can't get that big without using the steroids or using the testosterone. So the WLF must have had some good steroids in those gyms.
You know, honestly, the fact that you brought that up, it's actually interesting, because now we got the realistic, scientific reasons why Abby's body isn't possible legitimately.
It's not possible naturally.
Yeah.
Naturally, a woman would have to take steroids or SARMs or testosterone, and I don't give a shit if there's any woman on the comment section that says that's not true, that's impossible. I don't give a shit. I'm studying this. I know what I'm talking about, and I've seen it so much. I know women that are natural and lift like 200, 300 pounds and don't look nearly as huge as Abby. That's just my 2 cents on Abby. They really forced it with Abby. And they really triggered me with the sex scene and with everything that Abby does and the way she looks. Everything.
Yeah, honestly, again, if you like it, that's fine, but that's not why we wanted a sequel to this game. Like, if you wanted to tell that story, you could have made a DLC or a tiny little spin-off game like you did with Lost Legacy. This is not how you do it.
If there's a different IP where it does it better, the whole transgender character and the whole gay character and the whole female character, and it does it way better, then I would love it. Yeah. I would genuinely buy the game.
Yeah, just.
But I hate the whole Netflix doesn't have a personality type of character that's gay and trans, and his only personality trait is that he's gay and that he's trans, that Netflix put out there with all their progressive movies and dumbass shit. That I don't like. but actually give me a gay character or a transgender character that I would like to play. Look, if there's a Grand Theft Auto 6 and I have to play as a transgender criminal or like a gay criminal, I don't mind it at all as long as they're a good character to play as and I see them as a relatable person, a relatable human being.
Yeah.
But if I don't, I'm sorry.
I already told you a decent amount. I wanted to make. I pretty much have made a list of characters that are gay, bisexual, and asexual that I genuinely like. And while I may not have trans in the list, I know for a fact that the characters being trans will not be the reason why I would like them. Their personality, their character development, like that's all I ask for, really. Like, and that's not what I got from these characters, especially from Lev.
And just like I said, I don't care if there's actually a strong female character that I really like in Red Dead Redemption 2, and that's Sadie Adler. She's an amazing, strong cowgirl who's freaking awesome and killed a lot of people.
And then here's a list of other female characters that I like, and I'm pretty sure this slut likes. Ahsoka Tano is a great character. I pretty much like every single female character from Avatar: The Last Airbender. Scarlet Witch, Black Widow, Cassandra from the Soul Calibur series is my favorite character in the series. I really love Katana from Mortal Kombat. Ellen Ripley from the Alien series, Jill Valentine from Resident Evil, the list goes on. Like, hell, even Ellie from the first game I really like. I also really love...
Sometimes I don't even like characters that are straight or white if their own personality is just being straight or white.
Oh, I'm pretty sure there are characters that I strongly dislike where I'm pretty sure they're straights. Like, there are characters that I dislike too, you know. I don't hate specific characters just because they are specifically a character. Like they're like specifically pandering to a specific demographic. Like there's a little bit more that just plays into that role.
Exactly.
So honestly, those are my two. Like that's just my 2 cents of the equation, and Gene just gave you his perspective of the Naughty Dog agenda. My final thoughts. I give this game a 4 out of 10, and I don't recommend buying this game, especially if you're a huge fan of the first game. If you want to look into it, say look at a walkthrough. If you like the story, go ahead, buy it. That's perfectly fine for you to like this game.
If you want to play the gameplay, I would just wait for the multiplayer.
Yeah, honestly, like, in all honesty, like, as long as you're not being super fucking toxic to anybody that dislikes the game, and hell, even the people that are in the other way around, but I honestly see more of it on the former than the latter. But as long as no one's being toxic about not liking the game, then honestly, we Gucci, honestly. But if you want to try it out, go ahead. I don't recommend this game one bit. I think it's a huge disservice to our main protagonists from the last game, to the world of The Last of Us, to the characters that we've already come to love, and even the new characters that we got that we could have liked but don't. So honestly, I don't support this game at all. And that's my final verdict. I give it a 4 out of 10. It is the worst Naughty Dog game I've ever played. I've ever seen. It is worse than The Last Jedi. It is worse than I don't know if it's worse than Game of Thrones Season 8 because I don't really watch Game of Thrones, but I would not, if anybody were to tell me that it is worse, would not have a single doubt one bit. But I do think this game is pretty garbage. Honestly, actually, dude, it's kind of in the same level as Mortal Kombat 11 Aftermath for me.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, I really hate MK11 Aftermath.
Yep.
For almost the same reasons, for butchering characters, especially pre-established characters that were great in other media, and just shit in this one. The way they treat some of the main characters like crap. You know, and how the story just doesn't make any sense in any sort of capacity. And yeah, I'm gonna have a hard time deciding which one was worse. But I think I'll gladly say I was more disappointed with Last of Us Part 2 than I was with MK11 Aftermath.
I was genuinely more disappointed.
So that's it. I think that's it, really. Any final thoughts?
Nope, I think we can end it here.
I think so too. Well, thank you, sluts, for watching. I hope you all had a great time. Hopefully, this video was able to convince the people that like this game that there are genuinely actual problems with the game. That doesn't mean you can't like it, but at least understand the other side of the spectrum. However, for those that did not like it, maybe this will be a nice video where you can just relax and calm down and agree to most of our points, and maybe even acknowledging new points that you never thought of. Point is, I hope this video was good, and I'll catch you all in the next Sludcast whenever that comes around, whatever comes around.
Well, alright, sluts. We must bid you adieu, so goodbye. Mwah, and good night.
And with that being said, later, sluts. Goodbye.